Hey there, welcome to another This Week at Skye. And today I'm coming remotely again. I feel like I do more remote recordings than I do in person these days, Ash. But I'm coming live from Davao in the Philippines. We've got Ash. How you going, Ash?
Hey Phil, I'm not too bad. You're wearing the wrong top. It says Cebu.
I am wearing the wrong top because when we landed in Davao, there weren't any shops selling these t-shirts and we landed pretty late. So yes, I was planning on wearing the top for the city I was in.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I went with a Cebu. You know why? Because I'm actually saving another t-shirt for Cebu, and it's one of our teams. Yeah, it's obscure. It's not for this week at Skye, but Johan's Partners Diving Centre. They gave me a top when I stayed there, so I'm wearing that one tomorrow.
How good.
But very obscure. So, how was last week for you, Ash?
Last week, I was off sick a little bit, but getting better. We had a whole bunch of new starters, predominantly in the office, which is really exciting. So we have 2 new interns, Matt and Zach, and then we have Lenny, who's an advisor. So it's going to be really exciting to have the interns come through again. That was really good last time. And then, Lenny, she's recently finished her professional year and made the jump over to the dark side of insurance only.
Yeah. So that's good. My last week, I do the fun stuff here at Skye. I jump in when things go wrong. I'm helping clients claim. I don't often get to do the real fun stuff. So last week I jumped in. We had a client whose super fund went and cancelled her current cover within the super fund
Oh,
because a small amount of money got rolled over from her fund to another fund. And as a part of that super fund's policy, all insurance policies get cancelled immediately if that happens.
no. Wow.
And so I jumped on the phone to the insurance company who is the insurer for that super fund and said, hey, get me in touch, because we've got relationships with their advisor, channels, but we don't normally speak to their group policy channels. So I was like, get me in contact with who runs the group policy within this super fund, because I want to see if there was anything they could do. And then at the end of the day, I just called up the client. We talked about what was going on, and she was just like, look, I'm not happy with the super fund, and let's just take out cover elsewhere. Just to kind of, the good thing about insurance that the advisor set up is, unless you stop paying the premiums, that's when your policy will stop. There's no other terms or conditions that will, that you can get caught up in. So that was fun, just kind of jumping in and trying to, help the client make sure we get her cover.
Yeah, that sounds really intense. But also, I suppose, a good reminder of why it is good to have that retail cover instead of relying on that group policy that can be taken away for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah, and a part of our research, or a part of the due diligence we went, is like, okay, who else is with this super?
Mm.
Because, and the other thing I think more broadly about the industry is, are super funds going to start adopting this type of thing? Because at the end of the day, a super fund, their role and what they want to do and what they make money on is investing our super balance. They want to kind of tie us into their, ecosystem as much as possible, and disincentivizing any money leaving their super fund is kind of what they really want as a super fund, because that's how they make money. So, one thing I'm worried about more broadly is, will other super funds look at this and go, oh, actually, that's a great way of retaining the balance. So people aren't splitting super funds across multiple funds because, we can just cancel their insurance. Now, I don't think that'll be the case, and I hope not, but that's something I think more broadly about the industry. And also it's just high risk. Like, for any advisors out there, we do this day in, day out, and it's hard for us to pick up these things. And fortunately, it wasn't our advice that was at risk. And, we made sure I checked off all of those things just to double check our exposure. Our advice was good, but it was super fun doing these funky things. So it's really important to make sure, insurance is high risk. If you accidentally cancel a policy, or a policy gets canceled and something happens, then it's a lot of money that gets lost. So that was my week. Right, so first topic, we were just talking about how insurance providers are starting to use data to, give you incentives and benefits, and we think long term they might start to use the data that we allow them to use to impact our premiums on a positive level. So you were talking just about your car insurer
Mm.
releasing this. So talk to me about that, Ash. What was it?
Yeah, so I got an email over the weekend. I've recently changed insurers for my car insurance. As you do with general insurance, shop around a little bit, not so much with the life insurance. And so they were letting me know about the incentive program they have. If I drive, I can download an app which will track my driving, the speed. It said how quickly I'm turning, which I'm that's incredible that they can obtain that data just from an app, those sorts of things, and then give you gift cards as rewards if you are driving well. I haven't really looked into it yet, but it just got me thinking about how some of the insurers that we work with have similar programs. For example, if I can shout it out, AIA's Vitality program, where if you are obtaining 300 points, you can get a $5 gift card. So if you're walking, going to the gym, getting health checkups, these sorts of things. They're incentivizing you to have healthy behaviors, which is all really a positive. But then the skeptic in me starts thinking, how would they use this data in the future? Is it something that could affect premiums going forward? So, say if you have the healthy habits now and then life changes and those healthy habits change, could that start to have an impact on premiums? Yeah, interested to hear what your thoughts are on that side of thing, Phil.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think at the end of the day, insurance companies, they're all about understanding their risk. So the more data they can to understand and identify their risk, generally speaking, it's going to be better because, if they're insuring a broad pool and they don't understand what in that pool, what's happening day to day, then they will go, okay, well, we're going to assume, a worse, healthy habits, or we're just going to use data across the board for all Australians and put that kind of, whatever that outcome is on every individual. Now, if you live a really unhealthy lifestyle that's worse than the average, then you're better off because of it. If you live a healthy lifestyle that's better than the average, then you want to share that data. So it'll be one of these interesting things that only the healthier individuals will want to share their data, but the ones who are up at 2 a.m. eating Maccas or eating kebabs, drinking, they're the ones that are going to be like, hey, I don't want to share this data because that's going to negatively impact me. So it's one of these things that insurers, talk a lot about it. And it's always this balance between like, what is the consumer's expectation of like, is it okay for us to, offer better premiums because they got a healthy lifestyle, but then the insurer, they can't ignore unhealthy
Yeah.
habits as well. So yeah, it's been going. I mean, these conversations have been going on for many years within life insurance, but it's just no
Mm.
one's really implemented it all that well. And AIA Vitality is completely separate. So any data in AIA
Mm.
Vitality won't negatively impact your life insurance premiums.
Yeah, interesting. How do they keep it segregated?
It's a good question. I think any of your data that gets tracked can't be used for underwriting for your life. So how they do it is they offer you a discount up front. If you keep hitting these targets, then that discount will remain. If you don't hit the healthy life target, then your discount will lessen over time. So Vitality will tell AIA that we've hit silver or gold or platinum, but it won't share any like actual data because you can get like health checks to get points. So you've got AI Vitality. You just signed up for that, yeah?
Yeah, we just got our trial taster. So I've had that for about a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately has coincided with me getting sick. So it's harder to get those points. But I need to brave up and get that blood test. So then I think that gives me like 8,000 points or something crazy. So
Yeah. There's an easy way to get to a certain number of points, and then you've actually got to do the exercise.
yeah, yeah. But the other thing it got me thinking about was how the life insurance companies they're sort of incentivized to promote good health because we have AIA Vitality, but then MetLife have their 360 MLC. They have their programs where that can put you in contact with doctors, ask questions, and all these sorts of things to really incentivize you to have good health because they don't want you to claim and you don't want to have a claimable event. So,
Yeah, there's really two kind of organizations outside of ourselves individually that is financially aligned with us being healthy. Number one, it's government. They're most incentivized because they're the ones spending the most amount of money on unhealthy lives. And then the next is insurance companies, so health insurance or life insurance company. They're financially aligned with making sure we're healthier. And so yeah, they're really the only two organizations. Everyone else effectively makes money for unhealthy lifestyle.
Yeah. For sure.
And I did have a question about that app. Do you have to have that app open every time you drive?
I haven't actually looked into it yet. It sounded like I imagine it's one of those things where you have it on the phone and it's always just sort of running.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
The skeptic in me was trying to decide if I wanted to do it or not.
So do you have to sign up? Or it's all
No,
optional, yeah?
it's all optional. But I also
And
like,
can you turn it off?
yeah.
Yeah, the tight ass in you likes the idea of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they're gonna take our data anyway, so you may as well,
Exactly.
make money off.
Google has all of the data, so why am I so stressed?
All right, our next topic is talking about us. We're famous. We were in the news last week. Now, why were we in the news last week? So, ASIC is the regulator. As the regulator, they monitor financial advice, make sure we're doing the right thing. And last week, we were in the news because ASIC released the notification of an infringement notice. Now, we already knew that we had this infringement notice because it came and we paid the fine. So ASIC fined our licensee, which is ourselves, though we're self-licensed. Now, I've got strong views on it. Now, I didn't tick a box with ASIC that was meant to be ticked. Now, this thing, let me just quickly go into details. Then I'll throw it over to you, Ash, to ask me any questions about it. Being an advisor at a licensee, being licensed by Skye Money, do you have any questions that you want to ask? Because these videos go out to our team, and I'm sure our team might have questions. But what happens is from 1 Feb 2024, it's actually the 16th of Feb 2024 because they gave a last minute extension. But if every financial advisor needs to be also registered as a relevant provider. So we've got to be registered as a financial advisor, so on the financial advisor register. And then we also need to be registered as relevant providers. Now that transition came in, we registered all of our advisors at the time as relevant providers. And then in April, we brought on a new advisor and I registered that new advisor as a financial advisor. Put them on the financial advisor register. Now, within the registration, there is a second tab that says relevant provider. Now, I incorrectly assume that when you go through the advisor registration, it uses the word relevant provider when you're registering an advisor. It says financial advisor in brackets relevant provider. In my assumption, incorrect assumption, costly incorrect assumption, mind you, I thought that given that this transition had come in and we've got to have the same kind of, qualifications, education, standards for both relevant provider and financial advisor, I incorrectly assumed that if we're registering them as an advisor, automatically going to register them as a relevant provider. Now that was wrong. So we had an advisor who was registered as an advisor, but not registered as a relevant provider. And that's where ASIC gave me a call one day and said, hey, you've got an unregistered advisor. And I freaked out and I went and I jumped on the ASIC register and looked up their name and their name was on there. And I said, no, they're registered. I said, they're registered, but not registered. And I said, okay, tell me more about that. Anyway, so they weren't registered as relevant provider. ASIC, asked for all the files that, they provided advice on. Basically gave us a fine at the end of it because it is a legal obligation. So it's 100% on me. I was the one who didn't do the right thing. In the ASIC notice, which is just another kick in the guts in my mind, ASIC talk about that they use the term relevant provider and financial advisor interchangeably. And that just tipped me over the edge. And I was already tipped over the edge in frustration, but that was just like, that's what I thought. They're interchangeable words because it's the exact same thing. But anyway, so we got fined. So it was $31,300 that we paid ASIC for this.
Ouch. Plus some articles gone out about it. So a little bit of potential name tarnishing there.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Everyone who knows what's going on,
you know.
Yeah, knows that it's a clerical error, really, at the end of the day. it was great. One of Risk Info, Peter Sobels called me up and said, "Phil, what the heck's going on? What the heck, Mutt?" And I was like, "Hey, we didn't do the relevant provider, but they were registered as a financial advisor the whole time. So there was no intention to mislead or deceive anyone. There was no, in my mind, there's actually no consumer protections that were lost because consumers are protected under, the licensee being a financial advisor." And so Peter was very gracious. He's like, "Look, yeah, happy to take some comments on the article." And so I just basically wrote a statement explaining what happened. I've shared with Peter some of the screenshots within the registration process just to kind of show, actually, it's a little bit broken. But yeah, so that's it. We're famous. We got fined. We paid the fine. And, but my question to you, Ash, is as an advisor working for a licensee that had an infringement notice, do you have any questions about it or any thoughts or concerns?
I'll get there. I have a few questions just about the logistics side of things first, the admin side. So I'd been hearing about this a little bit because I come into the office and naturally there's conversations going on. At the time, I just assumed it was like two completely different applications or things that you needed to lodge. Was it simply just that a button wasn't clicked?
Let me just go broader. The reason this relevant provider actually came in is because the government wanted every advisor to be individually registered and have their own do their own due diligence and go to ASIC and say, "Yes, I have done all these qualifications, so I'm a relevant provider." And then when it got implemented, the government implemented it and ASIC said, "There's no way advisors can log into our system and do this." So then they put the obligation back on the licensees.
Back on the licensee. Just can't wrap my head around why there's two registers. Is there any difference in the information across these two lists?
No, I was trying to, so I'm going to put an article out on LinkedIn and basically just show screenshots of what it looked like and go, "Hey, this is kind of like ASIC use the term interchangeably." So it's kind of a bit silly, but I think really what it is ASIC, purely my speculation, ASIC doesn't have a huge IT budget and what they can just throw heaps of money at it. So they've got to build these forms and it's a really clunky old system that they use, ASIC Connect. And so to be able to put both of those in the one form, it's technically easily available. It's really easy, but it's just when you're in government or in IT, it'd be a pretty big project to pull them together. So basically what you need to do to register an advisor, you tick register financial advisor or authorized representative. And then when you do that, you've got to click advisor and authorized representative. And then you just got all these disclosures. Has the advisor met the education standards? Have they, done the ethics exam? All of those things that we need to, are they, fit and proper person? All of those disclosures to register a financial advisor. And then you go and you pay ASIC a fee to register them on the financial advisor register. And then you go through a separate form with a relevant provider and you tick the same thing. Have they met the education standards? Are they a fit and proper person? Have they done the ethics exam? So you tick all the same boxes again to do that registration and you pay a separate fee to register as a relevant provider.
Fun. To play devil's advocate, the concerns would be that maybe there's not enough attention to detail, understanding of the compliance world working here. How are you comfortable that the same situation or issues of the same sort of line aren't going to happen again?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm no longer doing those registrations because I just want to not have to worry about this because every time I look at the ASIC Connect, I get grumpy. But in terms of attention to detail, this is kind of why I wrote this. I'm going to write this article, finish it today on LinkedIn, is because I want to explain that in the advisor registration, it does talk about a financial advisor in brackets relevant provider. So it does look and feel like you're registering them as a relevant provider. You cannot be a financial advisor without being a relevant provider. So, and again, there is a drop down that says relevant provider. Again, I incorrectly assumed that was still there because anyone who had been a financial advisor and not yet registered as a relevant provider would go through that process because technically to give advice, you needed to register as a relevant provider from 16th of Feb. But you could have given advice 3 years ago and then come back to be an advisor and then you'd need to be registered as a relevant provider. So what I didn't do is I didn't go into the financial advice register and look at the segment that says registered with yes or whatever current. So the question about attention to detail is a good question. Our regulatory bodies are very combative, and not because they're like ASIC were great to deal with this stuff, but it's very much if I've asked ASIC many questions many times, and every time they answer, we'd get legal advice. And it's like, well, you're the regulator. Surely I can ask a regulator how you're going to view this regulation. But every single time, there's been a lot of so you just don't go to ASIC. So it's pretty broadly known that you don't ever go to ASIC to ask any questions. So that's kind of, and it's different in New Zealand. I've had lots of conversations about regulation in New Zealand, and I've actually I've emailed the New Zealand regulator, and they've emailed me back with an answer, and I was like gobsmacked that they were actually willing to talk about the regulation that they're going to ping you against. Any other questions? I like spicy questions.
No, that was the only one I had for now.
Yeah. But in terms of, again, attention to detail, at the end of the day, we make sure the advice that we provide is appropriate to every single client. Like I am obsessed with making sure the advice is correct and we are acting within the spirit of the law every single time. And yes, I didn't tick a box that I should have. And when you were registered, we made sure we had 3 checks. Goes Taz does it now. I check it to make sure everyone's registered, and Trent double checks as well. So we've built in these processes. And the other thing is it was a new registration process. So yeah, it's not an excuse. And that's why I'm not here to whinge and complain for getting the fine. I paid it. I comfortably paid it. The only frustration I had is there's a lot of other things that ASIC could be spending time on, because this took 12 months. Like, I wouldn't hear back from them for 3 months, and they're like, oh, can we get the files? Okay, cool. And you've got, 21 days, or no, not even. It's like 10 days to provide us the files. So we provided it all straight away, easily, and you don't hear back for 3 months. Okay, cool. Next steps is whatever. So
it'd be good to be behind you.
Yeah. It's, again, it is what it is. It was a good lesson to go, okay, we can't just say, hey, sorry, ASIC, we made an admin error on this really new system and process. Can we all move forward? No, it's a legal requirement. Next up, we're going to talk about client stories. So what clients' work have you been doing this week?
I have been getting cranky at an insurer. So before
Seems like most of your segments are about being cranky with insurers. I like it.
I was before I presented advice, I called up the underwriters just to provide them more context for what the client did for work. So he said that his job title was directional driller. And then when you go on the insurers, have a look at their occupation listings, it all comes up with like offshore, underground, these sorts of things. But the client explicitly explained that he was just running cables basically for NBN. So I was like, this feels like they're probably assuming he's doing a more high-risk occupation than what he actually is. So before presenting the advice, I called them up and I explained what he actually does, showed them a picture of the machine that he commonly uses, and they then said earth-moving occupation rating would be more appropriate. So with drilling, it was looking like income protection wasn't going to be available, TPD wasn't going to be available, whereas with earth moving, we could at least get income protection for a couple of years and TPD with the any occupation definition. Presented it, they were happy to go ahead with some cover. Then the client went through the tele interview, and then the underwriters come back and said, gone and done the same thing as what they initially did. So back on the phone with them again this week, trying to get that TPD back, which was first said no, then said yes, back to no. So looking to get that one back to a yes.
The age-old story of a Skye financial advisor yelling at an underwriter, and underwriters get grumpy with us. It's like, it's hard to work with Skye because you guys are asking too many questions up front. It's like, well, we ask them and we still get different outcomes, guys. I again we'll grab the name of that insurer offline, and if we need to make calls, I'm sure Trent or myself can make a phone call.
Historically, haven't had issues with this one. I think it was because I went over the phone and didn't get it in writing. So lesson learnt for me is to get, even after the phone call, just to get an email sent.
Yeah. Well, for me, we had a client claim. Yeah, obviously is not great. Cancer, so trauma policy, but from this is just a super quick claim. So we got notified 10 days before payment. Client let us know what was going on, and then they gave us their medical reports 3 days later. So 7 days from medical reports to money in the client's bank account. So massive shout out. Again, we get grumpy with underwriters, and we also love underwriters, but at the end of the day, big shout out to NEOS because they're pay claims quickly for this client. So, and then for me, where I got involved was also just in the client has questions after a claim, like how much money do I need to set aside for tax? And so it was a good reminder of what was trauma payment. So it's not taxable. So it's all the money in your bank account is all your money. It's the ATO is not going to touch it. So yeah, so that was my client experience. So next up, we've got Ash's Baking Corner. This week, Ash, how many days off did you have last week?
Just 1.5.
1.5 days, but you were sick. You were proper
sick.
You probably should have had more days off.
Probably.
But Ash, sick, and you work from home all week,
all
or were you
week.
there Monday? Yeah,
No,
so you were working from home, and Ash promised the Filipinos that you would bake some cookies. And so not only did you bake the cookies, you were at home sick all week, so you couldn't pass it to anyone who was coming here. So you drove to my place and dropped off the cookies, and I rudely didn't even answer your phone call when you arrived. So you just dropped it at the door. So this week is very special, all the way from Australia. We got Anzac Bikkies. So talk to me about these Bikkies. I'm gonna give you a rating while you talk about it.
I love making Anzac Bikkies. They're the easiest thing to make because it's just a few dry ingredients, chuck it in a bowl, and then melt some butter with some golden syrup. And it's so easy. The main reason I picked Anzac Bikkies was 1, they're notorious for traveling well, and 2, may as well give a little bit of Australian culture to Filipino co-workers. I believe Poddy and Trent and Phil, you guys were all trying some Filipino cuisine yesterday, so
yeah,
can give a little bit back.
Yeah, we flew in and had a big day of travel, and then came and it was actually Poddy who had the Filipino food. Yeah. Oh no, me and Trent had durian as well, actually. All right, I'm going to give you a rating. Sorry, what were we going to say? Your durian story? What's your durian story?
Durian's like all Southeast Asia, whereas balut's, that's Filipino, I'm pretty sure.
All right, my rating. I've said this a few times. I'm not the biggest baked goods kind of guy.
So it's getting a 2.
So, no, because I'm the only one rating this week. I'm going to be much more reasonable. I don't know if it's been, when did you bake them? Thursday? Yeah, and it's Monday. So I don't know if it's hard because of that or they were always hard. That's my question for you, Ash.
I bake these ones on the crunchier side. There's different things you can do in the baking method to change the crunchiness. So baking for different amounts of time, treating the baking soda differently when that goes into the butter. These ones I made puffier and crunchier.
This is why you have your own baking corner, because you know how to deal with baking soda to have a different outcome.
You know, on the weekend I was baking gluten-free sticky date puddings, and so I was Googling what needed to be done differently with the gluten-free flour. So now I know about that too.
So my rating is, do like Anzac Bikkies. It tastes very good. I love a chewy Anzac biscuit. Like if it was chewy, I'd give it a 9 because the taste is good, but it's kind of hard. So I'm gonna give it. Look, I'm actually gonna be harsh because it's really hard. I'm gonna give it a 5.5.
Fair enough.
Because it's like, and it could be the Bikkie, could be this individual Bikkie that's too hard. But Ash, it's very kind of you. Super lovely to bake these cookies, and for us to bring it over to the team. I'm sure we'll do a what are we going to do? We're going to do like a extended baking corner edition. It's not going to be in this video, but we'll record some videos of getting other people's ratings.
Yeah, please.
So it'll be fun to see what the ratings are. All right. So what's coming up this week at Skye? So I am in the Philippines, in Davao at the moment. So we're doing a world Philippines tour. So we're Davao today, Cebu tomorrow, Manila Wednesday.
It's a whirlwind world tour. Very quick.
Yeah, it's not going to be a lot of sleep. Every night we're doing karaoke because it's a given.
Do you have a go-to song?
I've been asking everyone. I think my go-to song is Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis. Just an easy one. People can get into it. Like, you got to make sure everyone gets into it, especially when you're an Australian and you've got an Australian voice. All the Filipinos are like,
they can all sing.
They can all
What's
sing.
With that?
But so that's my go-to. But I asked Taz, Trent, and Pete, so we're all over here, that we're going to try and do like a Backstreet Boys dance and to kick off the karaoke.
Oh,
so,
I can't wait to see that.
I'm the one driving this, and Trent's keen, but Pete and Taz are less. I'm driving this, so but we'll see if we can do that. Yeah, he'll do it. He'll do it.
Come on,
he'll join in. Well, he ate balut yesterday, so he's all in. All right, what else have we got on this week, Ash?
I am going to a webinar that Zurich is holding that's going to chat about some real life cases. I think that will be really good to see. I think they're talking about claims, but I'll find out. And then we got a whole bunch of content coming out per usual. This week we have our deep dive that you and I recorded around mental health, just around what the underwriting looks like, what questions they can ask, is it discrimination, going deep into mental health and life insurance. We have a Skye Simplifies on if you can switch your super fund without losing your insurance. And then insurance myths. Do you earn enough money to warrant having income protection? Oh, and then on Friday we got Taz Talks, which is always so much fun. Seeing what costume she's got on and how long that face paint's going to take to wash off.
Yeah, seeing the ridiculous of Taz. Every time I see it, I'm just like, I'm just thinking about how much time, energy, and effort she puts into doing these costumes.
Exactly.
And the thing I appreciate most is she makes sure she looks as ridiculous as possible.
It's so impressive. Yeah. Hats off to Taz. Or hats on. All the hats on for Taz.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. This has been a great episode. Next week, are we going to be in person next week? I think so.
I think so. First time in a long time.
All right. So thank you everyone for watching. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out. Happy to answer any other questions. So thank you everyone.